Back to the deep. There's a concept everyone loves to talk about from chaos theory, the butterfly
So
effect.
yeah, the butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil.
Exactly. And suddenly there's a tornado in Texas. It's this idea that these tiny, almost invisible moments can just cascade into world changing consequences.
It's a fascinating and, frankly, a terrifying idea. It means nothing is really isolated. Every single action ripples out.
Right. And today we're looking at a stack of sources that present what might be the ultimate historical butterfly effect. But here's the twist: it's not a battle, it's not an assassination, it's a domestic drama, a love triangle, really, from about 4,000 years ago.
It really is an incredible case study. We're diving into the biblical story of Leah and Rachel. And, on the surface, it just reads like a soap opera. You have Jacob, his two wives, who are also his cousins.
Yeah, that part's a little messy.
It's very messy. There's jealousy, deception, fertility issues. It's just a lot of family tension.
But the sources we're digging into today, they argue this was so much more than family drama. They suggest that the inner qualities of these two women, their, inner versus outer person, it didn't just affect their marriage. It basically set the spiritual destiny for entire nations.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack the lives of Leah and Rachel and move past that surface level romance story. We want to see how their characters actually created two opposing spiritual lineages, one leading to salvation and the other leading to, well, to exclusion.
It's a tale of two sisters, but also two completely different destinies. So let's set the stage. Jacob flees his home, he ends up with his uncle Laban, and marries both of his daughters. And right off the bat, the sources draw this incredibly sharp contrast between them.
Oh, it's very deliberate. The text really invites you to compare them. On one side, you have Rachel. The sources point out that the Hebrew describes her as having beautiful form and appearance. She is the outer person.
She's the one Jacob fell for instantly. He worked for 14 years just to be with her.
She's the head turner. She has the world's validation. And then you have Leah, the older sister. And the text describes her in this really cryptic way. It says she had gentle eyes.
I've always wondered about that. Some translations say weak eyes. Does that mean she had bad eyesight or just wasn't pretty?
That's the literal reading some people go for, yeah. That she was physically unattractive. But the theological analysis we're looking at interprets it very differently. It suggests gentle eyes refers to her character. That she had a humble, a meek spirit. She represents the inner person.
So we have outer beauty versus inner humility. But in the story, her humility didn't get her very far with Jacob. He was tricked into marrying her. She was the unloved one.
Which is just a horrible situation to be in. But here's where we get to the core theological argument in these sources. They argue God's perspective is the inverse of ours. God looks at the heart, not the appearance. And because Leah was unloved but humble, the text says God opened her womb.
It's like a divine counterbalance. The world rejects her, so heaven steps in.
Exactly. And then look at Rachel, the beloved beauty queen. She was initially barren. The analysis suggests this wasn't just, biological bad luck. It argues she was spiritually unstable. While Leah was forced to rely on God in her loneliness, Rachel, well, she was relying on something else.
Okay, let's unpack that something else, because this leads to one of the most dramatic and frankly bizarre scenes in the whole story. We have to talk about the teraphim.
Right. This is a crucial moment. Jacob and his family finally flee from Laban. And in all the chaos of packing up, Rachel secretly steals her father's teraphim.
So for anyone who's not up on ancient culture, what are teraphim? Is that like jewelry?
Think of them as household idols, little statues or figurines. They were about luck, protection, fertility. They were like a spiritual insurance policy.
So let me get this straight. She's married to Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, the guy who speaks with God, and she's smuggling little idols in her luggage.
It's a massive contradiction, isn't it? The source suggests that in her heart, she was still clinging to these for security, that her inner person was full of idolatry. She hadn't fully bought in. She wanted a backup plan.
And the way she hides them is just wild. Laban comes chasing after them. He's furious, tearing the camp apart, looking for his gods. And where's Rachel?
She's sitting on a camel saddle in her tent. She's put the idols inside the saddle. She sits on them. And when her father asks her to get up, she says, "I can't. The manner of women is upon me."
She uses her period as an excuse to hide stolen gods.
It's a masterclass in deception. But the sources say it's also this moment of deep spiritual compromise. I mean, think about the symbolism. She is physically sitting on her idols. She's literally sitting on her secret sin.
And what about Leah? Did she grab anything on the way out?
No. The sources are clear. Leah had no idols. In her distress, she didn't turn to magic statues. She turned to God. And we see the proof of this in the names she gives her children.
Right. And in this text, names aren't just names. They're like mission statements.
They are. It's like their entire mindset is stamped on the birth certificate. Look at Leah. She names her sons Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. The names are all praises to God. She's narrating her spiritual journey.
Can you walk us through that progression?
Well, Reuben means see, a son, which is sort of her saying, maybe now my husband will love me. Simeon means hearing, because God heard she was unloved. She starts out focused on Jacob. But by her fourth son, Judah, something changes. She says, "Now I will praise the Lord."
And Judah literally means praise.
Yes, she's not talking about Jacob anymore. She's found her identity in God, not in her husband's approval. It's a huge moment of spiritual maturity.
And then you have Rachel. After years of infertility, she finally has a son. You'd think she'd be just overflowing with gratitude.
You would think. She names him Joseph. Now, Joseph is a great figure, but the name itself. Rachel explains it by saying, "The Lord shall add to me another son."
Wow. So she's holding this miracle baby, and her first thought is, give me another one.
It's a demand, not praise. The sources argue it's all about competition with her sister. She can't even enjoy the blessing because she's too busy keeping score.
And that carries her all the way to the end. I mean, the tragic birth of her second son.
Yes. She's dying in childbirth on the road to Bethlehem. And as she's taking her last breaths, she names him Benoni,
Which means,
son of my sorrow. Some sources even say it means son of my idol. It's a name just dripping with despair. She is defining him by her pain.
what a burden to put on a child. Hi, my name is Sorrow.
It is. And Jacob actually steps in. He overrides her. He renames the boy Benjamin, which means son of the right hand or son of power. He tries to flip the script from sorrow to grace.
But the sources seem to suggest that the legacy was already in motion, which brings us to this idea they call spiritual milk.
Spiritual milk.
Yeah.
What does that mean practically? It's about nurture. A mother feeds her child physical milk, sure, but she also feeds them spiritual milk, her values, her fears, her worldview. If she's full of truth and humility, she feeds them the word. If she's full of jealousy and idolatry, she feeds them foreign milk.
So it's about generational consequences. Your children absorb who you are spiritually.
Exactly. And if you trace the lineages of these two sisters, this theory holds up in a really shocking way. Let's start with Leah, the fruit of truth.
Okay, so Leah gives us Levi and Judah.
Right. Levi becomes the ancestor of Moses and Aaron. That's the priesthood, the law. The entire religious system of the Old Testament comes from the unloved sister.
And Judah.
Judah is the royal line, the ancestor of King David, Solomon, and eventually Jesus Christ, the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
So the unloved sister with the gentle eyes, she establishes the foundation for both the Old and New Testaments.
She is the mother of spiritual royalty. Because she praised God in her pain, she birthed the lineage of praise. Now, compare that to Rachel's lineage, the fruit of idolatry.
Joseph and Benjamin.
Right. Joseph is a righteous guy, mostly. But look at his son, Ephraim, who comes from Ephraim. Jeroboam,
The king who split Israel.
the king who led the northern kingdom into total systemic idolatry. The golden calves. That was Jeroboam. The sources trace this tendency right back to that foreign milk the idols Rachel had under the saddle.
And there's that terrifying detail in the notes about Revelation. I had never noticed this before.
It's easy to miss. In Revelation chapter 7, you get the list of the 144,000 sealed from the tribes of Israel. Judah, Reuben, Gad, they're all there. But Ephraim is missing,
Gone.
excluded. The list replaces Ephraim with Joseph, and the source explicitly attributes this to their long history of severe idolatry. They were so consumed by the idols of the mother that they were cut off from the final seal.
That is a staggering consequence. From a hidden statue in a tent to being erased from Revelation. Talk about the butterfly effect.
And it's not just Ephraim. Look at Benjamin, Rachel's other son. His line produced King Saul,
The first king of Israel.
and the first king to fail. And look at why he failed. He was handsome, tall, very outer beauty like Rachel. But he was insecure. He feared people more than God. He wound up turning to witchcraft and died in disgrace. He never overcame that Benoni legacy.
So Leah's line leads to Jesus, and Rachel's leads to failed kings and excluded tribes. It really reframes that whole inner versus outer beauty thing.
It absolutely does. And the sources give us one last physical symbol of this. It's the tale of two graves.
This part was really powerful. Where they're buried tells the whole story.
It does. Leah's buried in the cave of Machpelah.
That's the main family tomb, right? The VIP section.
Exactly. She rests with Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah and Jacob. The analysis here says this symbolizes her entering the covenant, the eternal rest. Her humility earned her a spot with the patriarchs.
And Rachel, the favorite wife, the one Jacob loved more.
Buried by the roadside, on the way to Bethlehem. She never made it to the family tomb.
That seems so harsh. I mean, couldn't they have moved her?
They could have. But she was left where she fell. And the theological implication is that this exclusion symbolizes being barred from the ultimate kingdom because she never let go of those teraphims. She was on the way, but she never actually arrived.
And the source connects her gravesite to the massacre of the innocents.
Yes, that prophecy from Jeremiah, Rachel weeping for her children. Centuries later, when Herod slaughtered the babies in Bethlehem, those were the children near her resting place.
And the contrast the source points out is just chilling.
It is. The contrast is that Jesus Leah's descendant escaped. He lived. But the children near Rachel's grave, her spiritual neighbors, they died. It's a harsh reading, but it frames the ultimate outcome. One lineage leads to life, the other to sorrow.
So after all of that, what does this mean for us? We've gone from a family rivalry to a split in eternal destiny.
I think the big takeaway is that inner beauty isn't just a cliche. It's not a consolation prize. In this story, it's the actual mechanism for spiritual survival. Leah's humility created a lineage that saved the world. Rachel's reliance on external things, it created a lineage that fractured.
It really makes you think about what we value. Our world is obsessed with the Rachel qualities, the looks, the charm, the Instagrammable success.
Absolutely. But God plays the long game. He builds his kingdom on the Leah qualities: humility, endurance, that quiet faithfulness that no one sees.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. The sources talk about the hidden teraphim. Rachel thought she could hide those idols under her saddle and everything would be fine. She thought she could have God and her little security blanket.
But you can't. It poisoned the future.
Exactly. So the question we want to leave you with is this: what modern teraphim are you hiding under your saddle? Maybe it's not a clay statue, maybe it's your career or your bank account.
Or the need for validation from other people. A secret habit you think is harmless.
Right. What are you relying on for security that isn't God? Because if this story tells us anything, it's that those hidden things, they don't stay hidden. They show up in your legacy. They can change the entire trajectory of your spiritual family tree.
It's worth checking under the saddle.
Definitely check under the saddle. That's it for this deep dive.